Okay, so we're now outside Paradiso.
We are.
Still on the south bank.
We have crept in here. We might get moved on at some point,
But that's all part of the fun.
That's
Except for nerds, we have the right to travel. Okay, glossary term. Number 5 a week?
5, yes.
Yeah.
Glossary term 5.
TETHERCAT. Now, actually, this is applicable for what you're seeing. That you assume that we are travelling in between. There must be a period of time as we are travelling to get to these different places. But the idea of TETHERCAT is the idea of off-screen inertia. That if this was the last thing we saw, the footage just stopped here, part of your brain would think, do they never leave? Are they still just sitting outside the Paradiso? The example we gave in the show comes from the Gary Lawson comic strip, The Far Side. Most complained about of his comic strips, which is 2 dogs are batting a cat around a pole that's attached by its tail, and it says TETHERCAT. And the thing is, people were complaining because they said, I don't think that cat will ever escape. It's constantly trapped in this hell. Another good example we gave, if you watch Doctor Who and have seen Let's Kill Hitler, there's a scene where Rory pushes Hitler into a cupboard, and you never see Hitler again. And the implication might be that Hitler in the Doctor Who universe is stuck in a cupboard for the rest of
eternity.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, let's be honest.
Broken Bird, not fans of the Führer.
No, not huge fans. So now we're going to talk for a bit about our working method.
Yes.
So our working method, mainly in rehearsal process, was exactly what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Us, a camera, us talking, us telling stories.
And I think this is the interesting thing, because Lawrence saying, I'm not an improviser, I don't improvise. And then we were going, we've got hours of proof that you can improvise.
It's taken me a while. It turns out it's not that I can't improvise, it's that I sort of need the right sort of area and situation to be improvising in. But that's got better.
Again, very different ways. I think someone poked a hole in my filter, so the stuff just comes pouring out. And my idea is, if I just keep going, inevitably I will either say something clever or funny. But the trick is just to bombard with information.
Monkeys and typewriters.
Absolutely.
Monkeys and typewriters.
But
So
what
yes.
beautiful works we make.
So our average rehearsal would start out with a warm-up of my devising, because we were trying to get really nice and fit for the performance. Because it was a 2-man show, we knew there was going to be a lot of exercise, a lot of effort. So it's difficult to keep going for an hour when there's just the 2 of you.
To keep it, again, something that we should have talked about earlier is the idea of, because it was just the 2 of us, we were our own audience.
We were our audience for a long time. It was literally just us. Occasionally we managed to get other people in the space, which was wonderful. But yes, we can discuss that later, I think.
Is that not part of the working process?
No, that would be part
Collaborators.
of our collaborators.
Okay, so little spoiler, we're going to talk about the wonderful people we had
Assisting us through.
Yeah.
As we discussed in our original proposal, we decided to get some people in. However,
Which we did.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. So, we started out, our very first piece was how we were going to introduce ourselves, how we were going to get a hang of our own aesthetic in our company, which was Tom and I introducing ourselves, our box, and our tortoise. This became a staple of the show.
Yes,
it was Dragon straight away. We loved it because it was a great moment of interaction between the 2 of us. Now the warm-ups, I should probably talk a little bit more. So we did a lot of stretching. There was a lot of martial arts exercise that I brought in from my own experience of muscle building and all the other things. We also obviously both carried a couple of injuries in. Tom had done his ankle in about 3 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And my knee is a constant source of distress.
Yes.
But we used these exercises to strengthen those particular body parts. We also employed some meditation to get us in a focused state of mind for the show, which I think was very useful for just getting us calm and just letting everything go.
Again, the sort of the moments before the show started, because it's constant. We're on stage the entire time. We don't
give ourselves a break.
No, actually, that was part of what we were going to say, is that there are long sections where it would just be one of us, and we're like, oh, well, that'll be a chance to have a break. No, not really. Sort of,
because we have to be actively listening to one another. other.
Exactly. So there wasn't that kind of off. Even like ducking behind the box, you're still very
You're
much.
still there. You're still there. There was nowhere to hide in Broken Bird.
No.
Which was great.
Which kept us, and again, this sort of, a lot of the improv.
Yes.
Sort of, as you said, sort of the idea, and I think both of us kind of realised that through this process about how much, sort of, I've done quite a bit of improv before, but then I was like, oh, that is actually one of my major working processes. Also, part of the warm-up, we had a series of limericks.
We did.
Lawrence found out that it's a peck.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers rather than picked a pick.
Pick a pick. Which, again, that's sort of like, Jess Kaufman taught
us a couple of
and her going almost sort of like, it's a peck, obviously, and Lawrence like, well, I think a pick makes sense.
You pick the pick. You pick the best of the pickled peppers.
Also, she sells seashells.
Yeah.
So, like, I went on to the next bit, and you're like, what is it?
I have no idea what the next section
the
was.
seashells are seashells, I'm sure. And Lawrence was like, I have been working in teaching and education for years. I have never
heard that. Never heard that.
Which was, so yes, as just a consistent, we made, as part of the working process, we talked about the check-in right at the beginning. So we did check-ins.
We checked in.
Yeah.
We warmed up. We did some vocal warm-ups to make sure that we were audible and understandable.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we had a quick decision on what we were going to do. We set up the camera and we just went for it with the stories.
Yes. Again, sort of the way we used the camera, very different. I am impulsive, so I was like, it's there for documentation. We'll put the playlists there. I don't think we're going to keep this separate, but the videos are there if you want to see them.
If you want to have a look at bits of our working process that is going on there, they are all on that YouTube account.
But this is sort of very creative early days.
Yes, it's very early stuff, mostly.
But very simple. Also, when we were rehearsing, we'd make notes on what we were thinking about.
Most of which are contained in here, some of which I'm going to write up, so they will be available for you.
If you want them. And if you don't, turn it into a delightful little hat or something.
Exactly.
Okay, what else are we?
We've got to talk about the influence of the rehearsal space on our performance.
Absolutely.
So, because we're working with praxis, I mean, that's something we discovered quite late on when we started actually properly thinking about our process. Praxis was driving us. We were doing and just getting up and doing and learning about how each other worked through doing. We also learned about how each other worked in certain spaces. So, in the wonderful room of St. Peter's 2, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, we discovered a problem in that the ceilings are quite low and Tom is quite tall.
I'm 6'2", and
if you put a box underneath Tom, he cannot physically stand up in St. Peter's 2.
even if I couldn't do stretching exercises. Going back to practices when I was part of Warp and Weft, the company was predominantly short women who were like, oh, let's put our legs in the air. And I'm like, I'm stuck.
I'm stuck. I can't move.
I can't move. I like the implication though that it's like I'm doing, if you're thinking about the height, that if I'm pretty sure my feet couldn't reach the ceiling. But I like the idea everyone else is stretching and I'm just like, I'm on my shoulders going, You okay guys? So yes, that became
a staple of the show.
Which then became the thing that I didn't interact so much with the box, and then
the box became this Tom's opponent.
Yes, the antagonist. If we're going to get into Campbell eventually, but so that's part of the working process. Ultimately, when we created the final show, we kind of went back to the early days of going, let's just go.
Let's just do it and see what happens. And by doing that, we brought up, I'd say, a much more enjoyable and interactive version of the show. That our characters came through much more readily, I'd say.
Theoretical. I mean, the earlier version, there's a lot more about postmodernism and sort of...
so there'd be less theory and more praxis and poetics.
New drinking game. Every time he says praxis, take a shot.
Have a shot.
Lawrence, what did you write your essay on?
I wrote my essay on the idea of poetic praxis as performance.
Anything else in the book you want to
Anything else in the book? You may notice we have a book out because we find it helps us, and it was something we very much had as part of our process. There is method to our madness. There was constantly checking, going, okay, have we done this? Yes. Have we done that? Oh, yes. Have we done that? Have we looked at this? Yes. Let's put that in the notebook. Notebook, very important.
For me, there's just madness to my madness that I, again, sort of for my own personal working practice, it's a lot about relational and interaction and just going, if it happens, it happens. I mean,
Which was something I had to learn. It has to be said.
We're going to talk more about sort of moments of interaction
Yes.
later. But there came a point where I almost got in a fist fight with an audience member. So,
And on that bombshell, shall we?
let's.
Yes.
Was that another 8 minutes?